I think the way that I've decided I really want to connect with you is like rather than doing the career retrospective thing, I want to get insight from you into how you process all the stuff that we got to process. I walked a pretty weird path into all of this music and peripheral entertainment stuff. And you're one of the few people who I can get insight from on how to manage all of this stuff, especially because you've been so successful as an independent artist. It's just so few that have been able to do all of that successfully. I'm just so curious in how you have to contextualize yourself because that's part of the job that nobody really puts words to. Yeah, we got to make stuff, but we also have to be able to step outside of ourselves to see how we fit into a market, or how we fit into what's going on in the creative landscape. So I think I'm gonna be picking your brain from that direction. But I do want to start with kind of a normal interview question, which is your name. I always see it as an acronym, but just directly from you, I'm interested in what your name means.
Yeah, it's an acronym from the beginning. It was making the universe recognize and submit. I always wanted to play the game MURS, I think it's called. It was a coin operated game in the arcade. It was like MERCS. So I think that had something to do with it. I wrote graffiti, but it just all came to one moment. I just saw it clear. I can't describe it. I was about 15, 16. I've been through a bunch of rap names, and at that point I was just telling people just to call me Nick. Just I'm gonna be Nick. Because Keith Murray had just dropped, and I'm like, yeah, like I'll just be Nicholas Carter, bro. Like I
First
don't.
names, that's where it's at.
Yeah, and apparently there was some Backstreet Boy or one of those guys was Nick Carter, so that would have been bad anyway.
Would have been potentially confusing.
Yeah, we look so similar.
One version of the acronym that I always heard was making underground raw shit. This long into your career, I think a question that really interests me is whether or not you still consider yourself underground.
Yeah, I recall like I don't know if it was Method Man or somebody. I don't know. Someone was describing Redman, and they're like, Redman is still an underground artist. He's gone gold multiple times. He did a song with Christina Aguilera, but he's always been underground. It's just I guess it's an aesthetic. I don't think it's measured by sales because rap is an underground art form. That got co-opted by the mainstream, and then some people used the rising of rap to cross over. But EPMD will always be an underground rap group to me. They're not an independent rap group, and at this point, independent Cash Money is independent, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not indie like we are, but they're technically an independent record label. So indie doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about. I think underground has more to do with the sound and feel of the music. Are you still using metaphors and big words? Do you have a lack of pop harmonies and catchy hooks? Like Redman, I couldn't. He had a couple like pick it up, but that wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like if you see $1 on the ground, what the fuck you gonna do? Pick it like that's underground. It's a catchy
It's
hook.
still raw, yeah.
There's an edge to it. It's raw.
Mm-hmm.
Like always, I'm gonna knocking somebody right the fuck out. He didn't dress up nice. Redman's not flashy. I think there's like one or two times he like put on a patent leather something or other and a diamond chain, but he's Jersey. He's dirty. He's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean that with the utmost respect and reverence.
I'm going to get to more of how you see the business of music a little later, but just kind of on that tip, what do you think the possibilities are for, like, let's say somebody came along today, 2022, you meet a young MC that's like 14 or 15 years old, and they're inspired to do that raw shit, to be a flag bearer of that underground aesthetic. What do you think the pathway is if you're starting now?
It's hard, man. I have a program called Ground Waves that operates in Northwest Arkansas and Fort Collins, Colorado, currently. And I deal with a lot of young rappers trying to help them get in the game. And the path is really direct now. You post it and your music is everywhere. When we started, there was the fight to get in magazines, the fight to get in stores. Now there's no stores. Now there's no magazines. Now radio doesn't really mean much. You can do it all yourself. So that's a huge burden for them starting out. I had it harder, but I had it easier. My thing to them is business wise, like making this a career wise, it's about getting the people around you in your area to feel you.
Start local.
Now you don't have to start local, but go where you're wanted. Like we
Gotcha.
started local in the Bay, and then that's it. We weren't allowed to move anywhere else. So we went to Europe, we went to Japan, we went to Australia, we made ourselves known there. And, wherever you're at, make sure that the people know who you are. If they don't like you, they know you. There's a lot of people that don't like me or claim that they like me now, but I stood outside of Maritime Hall in San Francisco yelling at motherfuckers. So everyone knew me. Even in LA, everyone knew me. And, even I was at the Blow one time and one guy came up to me and he tried to embarrass me because I was out there selling tapes. He's like, yeah, you always say you'll give me my money back, so I want my money back. Because I tell people all the time, like, buy a tape because you're going to see me at the Redman show. You're going to see me at the Busta Rhymes show. If you don't like it, I will give you your money back. And so this guy tried to embarrass me like, hey, man, I want my money back. Your tape was whack. It was out front Project Blow. I was like, all right, man. But like 5 years later, he came up to me. He's like, bro, I was just trying to be an asshole. And I'm really like proud of what you did, man. Like you really started from the bottom. And I was like, yeah. So that's what I tell people all the time. I do it now with my podcast or when I had a podcast or with my music, my Twitch. I grab I was like, you're at a family function. I tell these kids, like, make sure all of your family follows your Spotify. Make sure all of your family, like everyone in the room has a phone. And since people now are all about numbers, if you only have 3 monthly listeners, people aren't going to do it. But if you have 10, maybe it'll work. And then if you do that to them, maybe you tell them, like, go to your job, and because it costs nothing.
To let people know.
Yeah. And like, let me get your phone. You give me a follow. You'll never know the difference on your phone if you follow me or not.
Right. It doesn't make any difference to your user experience.
Yeah, I will.
Exactly.
So let me get your phone. I was like, I'll go in a room full of my cousins there. Everybody following me. I just dropped the podcast. Make sure you download it, give it 5 stars, and then I don't need nothing else from you. You don't got to listen to it. But then maybe once it's on your phone, you will. I tell people who are waiters, I'm like, you're a waiter. Don't ask for a tip. When you drop off the food, just tell everybody at the table, look, follow me on Spotify. Follow me on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Keep the $20.
That's really interesting.
Boom. I told my merch guy that. I was like, you're selling merch for me. You're an artist. Put a QR code down here and tell people to follow you because it costs them nothing. I used to have to convince people to give me money. Right. All you have to do is say, hey, yo, give me your phone real quick. Or here's my @ Like, just give me a follow, bro. Or give me a view. Upvote my stuff on YouTube. Whatever you have one direction to hit them in. Don't say, don't try to do it all. But if it's your cousin and you guys are having beers, bro, there's no reason everybody at that backyard carne asada party shouldn't be following you and have downloaded your music, rated your podcast. To me, that's what we used to do. Like, if we were standing outside and talking, if you would talk to me for 3 seconds, I'm going to tell you about my tape. I'm going to give you a flyer because I'm, like laser focused. And I think that's what I try to tell them. Laser focused and unashamed. I had a friend that was walking by Kanye West and he's like, I was this close. He stopped and talked to my friend next to me because they were friends and I didn't tell him about my music. I was kind of like, I was ashamed, and people say that like, oh, have you no shame? And you shouldn't. We use that as you shouldn't have any. Why are you ashamed of your art? And I was like, you didn't yay. Because if yay was you and you were yay would have, yeah. I was like, if you want to reach yay, you got to yay. You know what I'm saying? That man has no shame. And sometimes it's a bad thing and sometimes it's a good thing, but I don't think it affects him because he has no shame. And people want you to have shame, and I don't get that.
Having the shame, I can kind of understand it in terms of like, you do want people to be able to read a room and figure out the best strategy, but like, if you believe in what you're doing, you should talk about it. Like, yes. You shouldn't have any shame in what you put your heart and soul into.
Yes.
So
yes.
If there's any openings or if it makes any sense to discuss your art, like, you should do it.
For sure. Like, you're at a concert,
Right. Obviously, people who are here like music.
Yeah.
So
I was at the Rap Sheet convention standing on a table looking at E40 Be Legit. Eminem just won the battle. And I was like, I don't fuck that battle. I'll battle anybody in this motherfucker for $200. That's all the money I got. All y'all niggas whack. Buy my tape. Standing on a table in the Roosevelt lobby of the Hotel Roosevelt. Like, no shame. And I think a lot of that, I always give credit to, like, it's gangbanging. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got homeboy. I grew up with people that would die for a color or a street or a hand signal. I'm not about to be out here ready to die for this music that I claim I love. So I've always taken that mentality, and those are the people who win. I was never the best, still not. But if you're waiting to be polished, don't wait. That's why I tell kids, don't wait. My stuff, I'd always refer, especially when I'm mentoring kids, I was like, you can go to Spotify and hear For Real from 1997. That's just garbage, bro. Hot trash. You know what I'm saying? to me, but I put that up there for you because my catalog wasn't on Spotify. And I chose to put it out there. I was debating. I kept it off for years. I was like, ah. But I was like, no, people need to see that. Kids need to see that. And that's somebody's shit. Like, I still get people like, nah, For the Record is my shit. Jerry Maguire song, you tripping, bro. But I feel so embarrassed by that. I think that's along everything else I said for these kids. Like, the routes have changed, the platform has changed, the strategies changed, but having no shame. And, of course, reading the room, having a sense of decorum.
It's funny as you described the part of that answer that had to do with making sure your friends and family and everybody was aware and hip to you. I felt myself like having some resistance to that, and I was thinking about why while you was talking, and it made me think about by the time I started doing my thing really in LA, it's like 2008, 9, 2010, and like all of the shows are pay to play. You know what I'm saying? So the local promoters in that sense are kind of like eating off people letting their friends and family know that they have a show and that they have to sell a certain amount of tickets to get there. And I saw people do that for years and never develop that next step. Like, they always have friends and family dwindling, actually, because they're not going to come to every show. You know what I'm saying? Your coworkers, they're going to come to every show. But then they weren't able to take that next step and have like actual fans. And as you were saying it, I was curious if what you thought about that line, trying to balance that.
Yeah, like that wasn't my era. Pay to play shows. Well, they were called showcases back then. And we weren't even good enough for those. You know what I mean? Because those were for people trying to get signed. Because people saw Living Legends or whoever else in that era open up for major acts and then go on to be the headliner. So they thought that was the way. And then the promoter said, hey, I'll find a way to capitalize off of a route that we make, because these kids think if they open for these acts, they're going to end up like Living Legends or Hieroglyphics.
100%. That's what we thought.
And it was like, I wasn't aware of that because they would never, but the promoters were, I think, smart enough, because when I have rarely been aware of people doing pay to play. And when I am, I try to discourage it or just pass on the show or work with another promoter. But then I heard that some people actually make money and the promoter kicks them back. So I was like, cool. When I was opening for Busta, I wasn't getting shit. They didn't pay us. They gave us an opportunity. Even we did a nationwide tour at Hyro, and they said, if you get there, you can rap. That no per diem, nothing.
Right.
So
that's how I did my first tour. Just like that.
So I was like, okay, well I was like, oh, the pay to play's not that bad, because you sell all these tickets and he's kicking you back.
A little money.
He's giving you 50%. But I think, you have to think about what you're performing. Are you doing the same set every month when you're opening up? And how much should you do that? Like, doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity.
Right.
And I always say that about rappers. Like, people call musicians are crazy. I was like, well, you imagine going on stage for 10 years of your life and doing the same songs. But at least we're changing cities. You're in the same city opening for different artists at the same venue doing the same songs. Maybe you shorten your set. Maybe you do 2 songs and you always do this one song, but then you do 2 new songs every month. So your family's encouraged to come. Like, you don't play it for them and you say, hey, I'm going to do 2 new songs this time. Oh, word. Okay, we'll come out because I haven't heard these. You're not going to play it for me? Nah, I'm not going to play it for you till you, and then how can you build up hype? But you're just plugging and playing. Like, we were making it up as we go. So we were thinking on our feet. I think a lot of people were looking at us, and it started tripping me out when people were like, oh, I'm just trying to get like you. And I'm like, man, I was trying to be Ice Cube and I failed. I was trying to be Jay-Z and I fucked up. And I'm still going, bro. And then people were like, nah, I want to do you. And that's where you got to be thinking on your feet. You can't just follow someone else's process because their process isn't it. There's no one with a story like Living Legends before Living Legends. There's no one like a story with like Too Short. Like, if you're going to wave this banner, now if you're going to be Big Sean or Pusha T or whatever, there's a formula to that. But for this shit is really choose your own adventure. So you could take some of what I did, and if that's not working, then add something. But you have to be thinking, you have to be creative. And then people get ego about like, I ain't paying to play. I don't think that's the way either. We did get to a point where like, we're not opening for free anymore. Fuck that. We're gonna throw our own show. But you kind of got, if that's what's going on, you kind of got to pay to play. We had to play for no money.
The factor there, the variable is y'all are probably seeing that y'all are having fans that are coming to see you all.
Yeah.
So then business wise, it makes sense for you to say, hey, give me some of this money that we're bringing in, or we're going to just make the money ourselves. What I saw and what always kind of gave me pause on the friends and family thing was seeing people just think that was enough. You know what I'm saying? Like to come off stage sweating, feeling like they accomplished something doing that same set for the same friends and family and coworkers, and not really like being able to take that next step of having fans and making a career happen. That always seemed to be the cautionary part for me, is like, oh, that's cool, but don't just keep doing that.
But I think people get off on that. But even the people I know that get off of that, they want a bigger crowd. I don't know. Like, I'm not one of those people. I don't like performing. I don't like being the center of attention. So that never did it for me. It was all about numbers and X's and O's for me and making moves. But I have friends that love to rap. Brother Ali loves to rap. Most of the people, living legends, like, we would get ready to do a show and the promoter would be like, you got 45 minutes. There's no way we're all going to do our solo song tonight. I'd be the first one to say, take my song out.
Wow, yeah, that's not usual. This usually an ego-driven art, so that's unusual to hear.
So I think, like, you get mid-ego people, what do the kids say now, mids. Like, if you have a mid-ego saying, hey, I'm opening up for Jizza, and then bringing your coworkers and everybody out, that's it for you. You got off on that, and you're just trying to get that high again. It's a cheap high. It's like a recycled, like a high. Like, okay, cool. I can't wait. And that's your thing. That makes you happy. You're not in it for the right reasons. You're not driven. So I think that maybe they'll complain like they don't go anywhere, but really that's all you really want. Because if you wanted more, you would do more. You really like being able to be at the water cooler like, hey, guess what? Jizza was last month. Guess who's opening for Busta?
Right.
Yeah, boy. I'm about to do whatever song it is.
That's so funny.
Y'all coming? And then for them, it kind of becomes like, all right, yeah, you go to your kid's Little League game. And then, cool, you haven't been practicing. You're not going to no ball camp. Like, you're happy with this cycle because most of the rappers I know are failed athletes looking for that high anyway. They want somebody to pay attention to them. They want to be seen. Most rappers used to be hoopers and whatever, and they didn't make it. So now, but at least they're still trying to get to the league in some way. They're trying, but some people like to play what's that thing called? Like pickup ball, pickup games, and opening that for a local thing is good for the promoter. It's good for their ego. Then they go back to working at FedEx, and you know what I'm saying, and next day, oh man, and now you can post pictures of it. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you can post pictures of yourself performing for somebody else's crowd.
Yeah, it looks great.
It does. It looks awesome.
It feels great.
It looks awesome.
And if that's all you want, because I mean, like, shit, you know what I mean? I'm not shitting on somebody working FedEx. That's benefits, and them rates is good.
Stability is something you end up missing in this life. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you have that
the stable paycheck.
And you get to get the high of being on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, you might cross paths with Jizz and he nod at you.
That's a feather in your cap. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, and you didn't have to risk it all. So, I mean, I think if those people are honest with themselves, maybe that's all they wanted. But someone like you was like, this ain't it, Jack. Like,
right. So I think people are pretty familiar with the story of the legends of, you, Eli and Scarab in LA as Three Melancholy Gypsies, Mystic Journeyman in the Bay. Like, if you had to say it in a quick way, what is the story of the living legends? How would you sum it up to somebody who wasn't aware of it?
Oh, man. Whew. Local musicians that backpack their way into independent rap fame. Or to backpack their way into being almost famous.
That's dope. According to Wikipedia, it's got you listed as formerly a member of the Legends.
Yeah, man.
Is that accurate?
Nah, I learned from Damon Dash, man. You let people say what they want to say.
Mm.
I'm always going to be a member of Living Legends.
That's what I figured.
They can't kick me out.
Did they try to?
No.
Okay.
I am inactive, you know what I mean? But I'm always a member. I have, like, once again, like, I've been falling back a lot on this lately, and maybe in a couple years I'll be over it. But I'm from gang culture. Like, people always like, that's your crew. Motherfucker, it's not my hood. Like, I got a tattoo that says Cloverdale. Like, you want to know where I'm from? Like, that's where I'm from. I ain't never said I'm not from Midtown. I'm not from my block. But this is a fucking rap crew, bro. Calm down. But I have that same mentality. Like, I put in enough work. I built this shit with my brothers. And yeah, I'm still friends with everybody, but am I rapping on the new album? Probably not. Am I going to show up at the next show? Probably not. And I have a song about it on the deluxe album that's about to drop. We are in this thing so deep together, but as far as creatively, like, I'm not in the place to be there right now. But if you want to post that I'm formerly a member, if you get in my comments, I had to check a couple people, like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? What business is it of you? Or, like, I was on Def Jux, and that's a label. Like, oh, you hop from crew to crew to crew. I was like, yeah, I have friends. I made records with Rhyme Sayers. I made money with Def Jux, and Def Jux was a label, crew, whatever. But everywhere I went, I've always said Living Legends. You know what I mean? And I think that gets overlooked, or people think that I'm the problem. I see that a lot with Ninth Wonder. Like, he takes a lot of the brunt of the dissolution of living. It's funny because we were working together, and we were both very familiar with what we were going through. But the most successful person tends to be the root of all the problems, and that's not necessarily the case. But I am part of whatever problem has had a Living Legends. I'm an equal part of all the problems and all the success. I'm not putting it off on any, but yes, I'm always and forever a part of Living. And I mean, and my thing is too is like, for the most part, there's not going to be anything. If there was a reason, like someone was hurting a child, and I had to disassociate myself from Living Legends because, but I know my brother. I'm not with them all the time, so I'm not aware of all their actions. And I was gone for stints in between. But unless there's something serious like that, where there's a legal action and criminal allegations or something, but it would take something like that for me to disassociate myself from my brothers.
With that sort of distance that you have right now, and really focusing on yourself as a creator, what do you think about having that sort of community versus not having it? Is there anything you feel like would be a benefit of having that same interconnectedness in this phase of your career?
As an artist, yes, I think that interconnectedness would help. But as a father and a husband, no. I compromise and sacrifice all day in this house. I don't want to be in a room where I have to sacrifice my career. I'm at a stage where I need to sit down at this desk and say whatever the fuck I want, however the fuck I want, when the fuck I want, because I can't do that the majority of the day. Right now we got to pick up our kids from school at a certain time. I have to compromise everything in my day to make sure that young person is picked up on time and feels safe and attended to. Then I got to make sure their homework is done, make sure who they're talking to on screen time, what they're playing. I'm sacrificing and compromising all day. And I used to be, like I said, I'm super compromising. Living Legends, like, okay, we can only do 6 solo songs. Cut mine. And I wouldn't be in the corner mad about it. You know me, if you ever seen a Living Legend song, I'm the one that's jumping out of my skin the whole time because I love my brothers. And that's why when people accuse me of not being down, I'm like, have you ever seen a show? Have you ever seen me like put my head to the speaker to hear CMA do Windows and like jump with Sunspot the whole time? I love it. And right now I need an individual lane because not much of my life is about me individually. And this is the last sliver I have for myself.
That's so real. That's so real because now as a human, you have these different roles, demand a certain amount of presence, that like your creative time, you're not able to split that a bunch of ways like you may have had the flexibility to do before.
I hop in with Slug. I do this. And what's great about me is when I did MURS Day with Mayday, I came in and I said, who is the alpha? Who is the leader? Who runs shit? And I said, cool. And it was like, Burns. I said, cool, Burns. I'm gonna let you know this. Whatever you say goes. However, I'm gonna voice myself, but if you voice my opinion, but you have the final cut. And that's why I think I can collaborate, and I've been able to pull off with so many collaborations because I don't go in, I can compromise. Because I know that I'm so prolific on my own. I have 16 MURS albums. As soon as I finish the MURS Day album, I'm gonna go do my own album and I can do whatever I want on that album. But now those outlets are not there for me. So my collaborations have gotten fewer, and my releases have gotten fewer. Like, I'm not as prolific as I used to be, but I don't have time to collaborate because I don't have the space to do it before. But yeah, I was always comfortable with saying, hey, okay, all right, Ninth Wonder, Ninth Wonder picks every single beat on the album. I never tell him what I'm rapping to or what I'm not rapping to. He has the final say of which takes we're using. Like, I don't say anything. All I want to be able to do is write what I want.
And he produces it then.
He produces from front to back. This is the beat you're gonna rap to. No, we're not gonna do that topic. Rap about something else. On this, you're gonna rap about this. On this, you're gonna rap with this person. And that's how I have The Animal with Fonte. That's how I have Barbershop with Pooh. I didn't try to get them on a song. That's how I have a song called No Shots with Mac Miller out there floating somewhere around. Because he felt like this is where I belonged in the music. And I like that. And then I can come over and do Captain California exactly my way. Or Have a Nice Life, or, I have all these different outlets. I think that's important.
That's really insightful for me to hear because, like I said before, this is typically a very ego-driven creative endeavor. it's so insightful to hear how you have the self-awareness to know when to push that button or when to turn the ego down and let somebody else lead. I mean, I just, to me, that's like, as a person, that's just really kind of important to hear, because that's not a line I always know where to draw. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like my creative will and the creative will of somebody that I'm partnering with, you know. So earlier we touched on how you've been able to partner with different MCs and crews all over the country, and I would assume the world too. But you know, I would definitely want to shout Rhymesayer, shout Def Jux, shout out working with Knife, and that seems to be really important in terms of making sure that you weren't seen as like strictly a LA underground dude, and you're able to be seen as an entity to fans of underground rap all over the landscape. And one thing I'm curious about is like, I mean, you know, you did that over the span of a few years, like making those relationships and building those projects and getting that work out. Did it feel like you were the only person in the LA Underground trying to do that? Like, did you see anybody else also trying to build those relationships? Like, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's just you, which is like baffling to me that nobody else would even think to or try to do that.
LA's a metropolis, so people really, you have that ego about you. Like, I'm from LA. Like, why I want to collaborate with somebody from Spokane? Fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, and I was always like, man, what are they doing over there? Like, one of my, I think a second, good music, I end on a note where I'm just like, I want to walk the earth like Kane and Kung Fu. Jules Winfield, Sam Jackson, and Pulp Fiction says that. Like, I'm going to walk the earth like Kane and Kung Fu and get in adventures. When I saw that as a kid, my life changed that night. I was like, this is what I want to do, man. Like, I just want to walk the earth and have adventures. You know, Ye is saying it now, but my goal when I was young, my mom used to tell me I was crazy. Like, I just want to live in different hotels in different cities. Like, I don't want to have anything. And I was just like, I want to go, like, okay, cool. Like, I'm living in the summer in Chicago for the summer, doing a record with Galapagos and my homies from high school, Anacron and himself. And we're just, you know, himself is like a encyclopedia for old people. But he's like a wealth of information. Like, he's walking me down in State Street, and like, these buildings are built like this. And when the wind comes down here, and blah, blah, blah. And then this is old style. This is what they drink, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just learning and I'm loving every minute of it. I'm on the L and I'm on the, and this is what I liked. And that just came along. Okay, I got to rap and make an album while I'm here because it's something to do.
And it's what you do.
Yeah, it's what I do. So I'm just getting in adventure. So that always, I guess being a new kid, like I moved around a lot as a kid. So even to right now, like where I live in Inglewood, this is the longest I've lived in one house in my life. I've never lived anywhere in one address longer than 4 years. And I'm 43 years old. So that kind of, and then, you know, we're kids. We, you know, Scarab and Eli, like Melancholy Gypsies is not an accident. That's a lifestyle. And I was really about that. I don't know other people, you know, they love LA and they don't, but I didn't feel that way about LA until I left it. And I think that some people need that. Some people don't. Some people know this is where they want to be. They love it. They're going to live and die here. And that's cool. But I didn't, the song, one of my, you know, most popular songs is LA, but I wouldn't have made that song had I not been standing in a studio in North Carolina missing home. So yeah, that I need that. I don't know, some are, yeah, they weren't doing that. A lot of ego, like, man, I ain't gonna collaborate them fools from whatever, you know what I mean? But I've seen all those dudes eat their words. And I had those dudes press me like, why don't you rap with us? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, you weren't happy to rap with me. Like, these people, that's another thing. When I show up to there, they didn't care that they were bigger in their city than I was in my city, or they didn't know how big I was in my city. The fact that I was at the Bobito show and they had heard of me before, like Vast was like, yo, Melancholy Gypsies, yo, son. And I'm like, word? You know what I mean?
That's a pretty great Vast impression.
I'm saying, when I first heard Scarab and Eli, yo, but yo, I'm like, yo, he didn't care. I think that's another thing too. Is you look cooler, I think, as a out of towner, as a local person welcoming me to out of towner. Local people are always welcoming out of towners. People from the same city don't, and I don't know if LA is that welcoming. I don't know what it is about why they did.
It's not.
And I was like, man. And I know people in my crew would hate on him, like, oh man, why you over there messing with them? Whatever, bro. You be just with everybody. And I'd be like, yeah, man, because everybody knows something. Like the Kane and Kung Fu thing, like you're a samurai. There's different styles of swordsmanship all around. You can't sharpen your sword amongst the same people. Even Living Legends, we're all from all over California. And that's what got me going at first. But that feeling didn't stop for me there. We go to Tucson and I meet people. I'm like, yo, what do y'all do out here? Word, there's a fresh bake. They're breaking bread in the morning. I'll be up at 7. Come get me. It's 2 in the morning right now. Take me to that breakfast spot. Like I'm always wherever we are. And what I do is music. So it just translates to that. But even I was driving across the country now and took my homeboy with me. I'm like, we got to stop here. We got to stop in Tacoma. And yo, there's this vegan place and blah, blah, blah. And oh, Fish House in Tacoma. You know, it's like they sell Final Calls and Isaiah Thomas used to eat there. And like, you know, not the Isaiah Thomas from our era, you know, our
OG Isaiah Thomas.
So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is the Fish House. I don't eat fish, but I'm going there because it's where black people go in Tacoma. I didn't even know there's black people.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but it's a huge black population. Like the black people in Seattle are based like in Tacoma. And it's like, you know, I'm like, okay, like this is how y'all get down. And I'm really cool. There's a clothing line here. Cool. I'm gonna go there and support. Like, it's just, I try to make friends wherever I go, and rapping is what I do. You said it best.
So it's partly strategic because, like you said, the X's and O's have always been important to you too, but it's also partly just who you are as a person and that translating as a career.
Yeah, and like E40 has a line. He's doing a song 8 Ball and MJG, and he's like, this ain't one of them songs I'm doing it with Dude and them to get their region. We been seasoned, you know what I mean? But still, yeah, it definitely is a conscious part. Like, okay, that's why I like Slug the same way. Like, okay, if we get with y'all, then that spreads the music because we didn't have distribution. And that's why another thing I tell young people too is like, there seems to be a lack of crews because everybody's recording in their room. You don't have to pitch in with a bunch of people to get studio time anymore. There's not a lot of rap groups anymore. But when living legends would descend upon our sound, like I'm a fake fight somebody, this guy's gonna sleep with your sister, this guy's gonna sleep with your cousin, and we're gonna leave our tapes everywhere. This dude's gonna smoke some weed with you, somebody else is gonna do something else with you, like, and we're all gonna descend up. When we leave your city, we have put our tendrils out everywhere. And I was like, so yeah, there's like, it's not even like now, like ASAP Rocky deciding to collaborate with Schoolboy Q to get their regions. You know what I mean? Like, I just needed distribute. Yeah, fuck yeah, I want to hang out with Slug from Minneapolis and try to get my tapes in the stores he knows and have him take me to. Fuck yeah, it's helping me. And it was strategic, but at the same time, he's like, oh, I think Christina Ricci is so hot. And I'm like, me too. Oh, that's weird. Let's do a song. Let's do an album and dedicate to her. Like, once you open up yourself to being, like, that's the thing is like, I never stopped being human. MURS is not an alter ego. It's who I am. It's just who I became. And a lot of people, their rap is an alter ego. It's a brand. And so they got to be careful what they do with their brand and how they do with their brand. And sometimes they're too careful. But for me, I'm open to the human experience, bro. If you have something to share with me and I have something to share with you and it turns into an album, great. But yeah, X's and O's sometimes doesn't work. Like for me, Felt 3 was X's and O's. Yo, Sean, what if we get A$AP Rock to produce this run? Woo! But at the same time, our homeboy had just moved from New York to San Francisco. Didn't know anybody and was lonely. And we're like, we just want to hang out with Ian. So it wasn't all X's and O's. But yeah, in my mind, I'm like, whoo, because we didn't tell anybody. No one knew we were making Felt 3. Like I was on Warner Brothers at the time. I just kind of got a loophole and getting my way out of there. And motherfuckers didn't expect. I was like, oh man, when people hear this. And it didn't add up. The X's and O's didn't add up. But I'll never forget the time we spent eating donuts and hanging out and, you know, just being with my homeboy and his cats and hanging out with Jeremy Fish and walking around San Francisco and getting vegan burgers. Like, it was a time. And so if it was all X's and O's, I'd be unfulfilled.
You mentioned having been on a major label, you were on Warner. What led you to the opportunity of working with a major label?
The understanding of you can be underground and be a gold platinum record. Like the example Wu-Tang Clan set, Mobb Deep set, Redman set, where it doesn't mean you have to sell out. You know, even in good music, I wrote like my goal is to go 13 times platinum. Like I've always tried to be Ice Cube. And if I don't sign to a major label, who's going to be the Q-tip for these kids? Who's going to be, if all the Q-tips and all the underground people and the conscious people are withholding their music, what are we doing? I'm blessed. I own most of my catalog. I'm going into a record deal where I own 7 of my masters already. I own 316. Me and Knife own the masters. Why wouldn't I? What am I really giving up? And then another thing is too, is like I saw the bottleneck or the glass ceiling or not glass ceiling, the boot on the neck that a lot of OGs in the underground scene put on the youngsters. If I don't move up, and one of my idols, I won't say idols, but people I look up to is will.i.am. And he moved up here so I could be here. Because growing up all the time, niggas used to say, hey, cuz, hey, blood, you look like Will 1X. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Oh, a dark-skinned weird nigga from the neighborhood. Like, yeah, that's me. And he took it here. So if I don't get out the way, then you can't come and be the next MURS. If I'm gonna be MURS my whole life. And then the final thing was, I was sitting in my car thinking, yeah, what if Ice Cube said no to a label because he wanted to own his masters? I probably would have never would have heard him. I was 11, 10, I needed that. And then how European is that? To think that you own art. Like they own the masters? Like who owns the fucking masters this scenario? I'll sing that shit right now. You can't own music. That's some silly ass European shit, bro. Fuck you mean you own that song? I'll sing that motherfucker right now. You won't do a damn thing. You can't silence me. You can't mute me. You can't take me down from the internet, motherfucker. Music lives here. And so when I said like, this is what we're fighting against, but this is what we're fighting for. The independent scene is fighting for ownership against the people who are fighting for ownership. I was like, that's so fucking stupid. It's music, man. Let me get up here and do my thing and see what it's like. I always say it's like, life is like Disneyland. I adopted a kid. I had a kid. I got married. All because this is shit that I don't know how long I'm going to be in this vehicle, this vessel, and I don't know if I get to do this again. So I want to ride every fucking ride, bro. I'm going to ride every ride at least once. I had a DJ that told me, and I made him eat chitlins because he said this, you don't know if you like something till you try it 3 times. So yeah, I know what Q-Tip's experiences at a major label was. I know what Busta's is. I know what, Dub C and the Mad Circle went through. I know what Mac 10 went through. I hear a lot of stories and I read a lot about stuff, but they're not MURS. They're not Nick Carter. They don't. And I met some great people. Everybody at the record label, for the most part, 99% of those people were amazing. People who were felt lucky to have a job doing music, and they were so kind and so nice and had so many stories. And I still talk to some of them today. The president of the label was Tom Wally, who now owns Loma Vista Records with his son, Ryan Wally, who signed me. And they're some of the kindest, nicest, most genuine people that kept their word at almost every turn, where they could. And it was amazing to work with them. Now they do Little Dragon and Denzel Curry, and they just, they're still creating great music in their own way. And every time I call them, I'm like, Ryan, I don't understand this. What's up, MURS? I'm like, yo, bro, you're in a session with Little Dragon. You're taking my call to explain to me some copyright law. That's great, bro. Thank you. I gambled it and I was right. And it took me off the paid dues stage. To be on paid dues, you had to be an independent artist. And I was like, cool, I'm not going to perform anymore.
You disqualified yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, and then who is going to say something against me? Because I'm signed to a major label, but my money and my reputation, I'm putting all back into this platform to grow this local LA scene and this independent rap scene. So that was my mentality of that.
I want to touch on pay dues in a sec, but before we leave the major label situation, I'm curious if there's anything because that was a different type of experience than you had been having, what was something you learned doing that you wouldn't have learned otherwise?
Legitimately, I could fill a book. But what I tell people now is, and what I told Noah James and other people I see, 60 East, we've had these conversations. Everything that I put into pay dues, I took out of myself. You're not an unlimited reservoir. So everything I did to make the platform bigger and make the scene bigger, and if motherfuckers can give me my credit or not, I know I'm not the sole reason, but I'm definitely a part of why this, especially the West Coast scene, but independent hip hop as a whole. But when I went into there, I was one of the top selling independent rap artists. And when I came out of there, I wasn't, because I put everything I had into growing myself into growing everyone. It was a sacrifice I didn't make consciously. So I always just make people aware of that. And that's funny because I say that on Can It Be? Like, you try to fill everyone's glass, and I didn't realize that I should have been listening to myself. I thought I was talking about relationships, but your relationship with your art is the same. You can't throw the festival, put yourself on the festival, and claim that you're doing the best for yourself as an artist. If you're your own manager and your manager was throwing a festival and managing you, you'd be pretty pissed at him because he wasn't giving you enough attention. But independent artists, you're your own manager, you're your own writer, sometimes your own producer, your own marketing firm, and then you're going to throw a festival on top of that? And it's like, come on, bro. And that's why I always tell young rappers too, is like, don't have any kids, bro, because that's going to make it a lot more challenging, because that's something you can't deny. You can't just say, okay, I'm not going to throw that festival anymore. That's it. You got to throw that festival every day for the rest of your life, bro. And you're going to have to find time to be creative. And a lot of people do it, but it's less challenging if you wait. And I waited, and that's a whole nother bag of worms. That there's nothing's perfect. You know, the Harry Potter theory, like all magic has a price. And the price for the magic that was paid dues was my career. There's no doubt in my mind that I could be further along and more famous and more of a rising star had I not done that. And I've had my friends like combat me, and they're like, oh, well, and that, you know, people hate on me all the time. Even my friends behind my back, they say, well, if MURS has more followers because he just threw paid dues. And I'm like, okay, it is what it is. You know, you can't win. But I feel like I would have definitely been further along as a solo artist had I not done the festival.
As we get close to wrapping up, you know, I want to get into some of what you do outside of music just to keep your cup filled. You know what I'm saying? I've read that you're into comics. You still into comics?
When I can, yeah. I still buy them. I gotta.
You just got a
Got a
stack.
stack right here, a whole long box, bro.
Are you still into wrestling?
Yeah, I try.
Do you see parallels between wrestling and the business of being a rapper?
Oh man, I do. I mean, because I don't take this shit seriously. Like, you know what I mean? I saw as I got into it that these motherfuckers are just talking. I had the privilege to be born in Mid-City and have Crane's Records, which became Martin's Records, which Walker Martin took over, and every rapper in the industry would come through there. And he would tell me who was full of shit. And he's like, oh, your boy such and such, bro, they came out here, they was scared of the motherfucker. He was shaking like a leaf. Because, you know, it's on Pico, so there's Crips coming in and out of there, all kind of madness. He said, oh, man, when they saw blah, such and such, they just tucked their chains and they did this. And I was like, man, that nigga said he slapped the shit out of everybody. You know? You know, but I'm 14, 15, or, you know, seeing them be upstairs in the back, scared, you know what I mean? You know, as you know, and I'm not gonna say any of their names, but like Method Man came into the record store, dapped everybody up. Yo, what's up? Right. Yo, Meth, what's your name? Yo, you know what I mean? And I see him do that to this day. You know what I mean? When he walks into a room. And that's the people I was influenced by. But it also showed me that a lot of these dudes are wrestling. So how can I sell myself? And as much as I've grown to disagree and dislike Vince McMahon, he's brilliant. And, you know, reading, you know, I read all the WWE autobiographies. The first ones, like The Rock, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. I wrote
Mick Foley.
Yeah, Mick Foley, yeah. So it's like, okay, they all say it's you take a part of yourself and turn it up to 10. Merch, like, you know, I learned that merch was a thing kind of from Slug and Mystic Journeyman, like having t-shirts and a merch table. I learned that from Slug. But then once we started doing it, I was like, oh, this is just Vince. He's pumping out a t-shirt every 2 months, and you wear it on stage. And then, you know, you wear it when you know, I'm watching Raw, like, is Stone Cold gonna wear a new t-shirt? Then I'm going to WWF Shop Zone, ordering that shirt. You know what I mean? Watching ECW, like, okay, where's the P.O. box I gotta send this to so Paul Heyman can send me a Taz shirt? You know, like, so I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do. So yeah, so much game. And then their promos they cut, because they're just freestyling a lot. The best people, especially in the era of Stone Cold, you know, he was improv. And reading that, like, that red light come on, and he just go. And that's something, you know, we definitely develop out of The Good Life. And the Blowed here was, you know, being sharp from the mind. How can you use this quick wit to sell? What can I say on stage? Where can I say outside of the show? You know what I mean? It's all Carney festival roots, or, you know, not festival, but, you know. So I think, yeah, wrestling has had so much an impact. Selling is not hard for me, but I feel like a lot of part of when I perform with people, even living legends, you'll understand this. I feel like a lot of the guys don't sell to other guys.
I know exactly.
And
what
I'm
you
selling.
Mean, but that's that ego.
Yeah,
shit.
I'm selling everybody. You know what I mean? We gotta sell. We gotta go over. You know what I mean? Cheap pops.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yo, is Milwaukee in the house? Like, you gotta know. You know what I mean? Right. And that's another reason I go, because I go out like I do, because when I know I'm gonna be back in Tucson next year, and if I drop that bar about that bread spot, everybody in this, I'm gonna get a pop. But that's studying wrestling. Like, okay, fuck the New York Islanders. Heat. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, damn, man, wrestling is a science. Reading the books, kayfabe, like popping, selling, putting people over, jobbers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you're an opener, you're a jobber. You know, like, yep. They drive in cars from city to city, you know, stay in different hotels. Like, they get what we do, and what, you know, it's very synergistic. So yeah, and I still watch it for inspiration. I'm more of an AEW dude. I didn't get in.
Same here. Same
So
here.
like, I can't. I literally just don't watch WWE anymore. But I try not to speak openly out against them because I really am happy for E and Kofi and Xavier. They were been so kind to me, and Mega Ran. And I also haven't been embraced. Like, I tweet about it, blah blah, and then they put Mega Ran on a compilation. I get my feelings hurt, but I'm happy for Mega Ran, and I'm like, like wrestling don't embrace me. But like, Max Caster,
Yeah, Platinum
yeah,
Max. Shout out to Platinum
he's
Max.
dope, man. And he shows some love. Oh God, Rake. I just met a guy that's down with Darby Allin. Like, there's you meet all kind of rap fans all over the place.
You see JPEG Mafia be on there
Yeah,
with
Peggy.
Darby Allin.
Yeah, so like I love that, man. I love what Rand's doing. I'm going off on time. I'm a Jaguars fan, so like the Khan family, like it just
Okay.
made sense for me to be AEW. I agree with their ethos. And back before COVID, I was in Jacksonville once a year at least to see a Jaguars game, and then I was like, yo, I could see wrestling. Stay a couple more. I can go Wednesday night and then stay for the game on Sunday. And I got homie, and I did an album with a group out of Jacksonville. So I got homies and family now in Jacksonville. And I got literal family. So yeah, man, wrestling is a huge part of my just with kids, like I don't have a lot of time to watch it. And I cannot get my kids into wrestling. I have one kid that's like, he just wants to watch girls wrestling. Cause he's 3 and he likes to see the top of their boobies. And that's what he said.
That's so funny. I had my kid. We wouldn't let him watch it. Oh man, I think we said until he was like 10 or something like that. We just decided like the age he could. So he was so charged up to when he turned 10, so he could watch wrestling. And he must have watched it for about 2.5 months, and he was done. At first, he was interested because he thought it was legit. You know what I'm saying? And then he started to see the things that let him know it wasn't legit. And so now, like, he thinks it's cool. He just does. It's a little clownish to him, you know.
I think I messed up because I told my sons from the beginning, even my tweet, because they immediately start pile driving. And I remember getting DDT'd as a kid, and they didn't tell us it was a work.
Right.
So I told them it's a work from the beginning. I was like, that's what you guys have to appreciate, the grace and the thing, because they're not getting. So when you're trying to body slam your brother, remember that it's a work, and you guys can't hurt each other, because if you hurt him, then you're not a good wrestler.
That's real.
And then I think once I told them that, they're like, I'd rather watch Power Rangers because this shit is real. You know?
Oh man. I tell you, I ask about 2/3 of the questions I have written down here. But as we wrap up, just in terms of people following you and your career and your output, like what do you think is the next thing they should look out for from you?
Man, I'm trying to make this year the best year of my career. So I'm doing a lot of things. I did all kind of self-help stuff. But one of them was like, who are you? Like, can you break it down into like 3 words? And like, I know that I'm passionate, pure, and prolific. And the past year and a half, I kind of did an experiment where I just wanted to focus on Love and Rockets 2 and see if I only promote, because I feel like sometimes I confuse my fans. And, I didn't see a rise in reception or engagement. So I'm just going to, the next year or so, just do whatever I'm passionate about and what I'm feeling. I think that's when people fault me for not doing Living Legends or not doing another Felt. Know that when I do it, I do it because I'm passionate, not because you wanted me to. Because when we were in Melancholy Gypsies, no one told us to get in Living Legends, and you guys loved it. When I was in Living Legends, no one told me to sign at Def Jux, and you loved it. People are like, why are you going to New York so much? And then they're like, oh, this is great. Then when I was on Def Jux, I didn't use Aesop Rock to do a whole album. I didn't do a whole album with LP. I went and did an album with Ninth Wonder. Why are you going to do that? And then that worked. And it's just like people question, like, I would trust that whatever I do is passion first. I like it to make sense and connect dots, but like I said, no one, I can have a record, a punk rock record with a group out of Jacksonville. Like, people were into it or they weren't. Like, I don't care. I felt like that's what I wanted to do. And there's going to just be a lot more of that. I was kind of holding myself back this past year and a half, trying to see what that would be like. And so, yeah, I think just, stay tuned in, stay tapped in. Maybe my shit's on Spotify. Maybe it's not, you know what I mean? But oh yes, and you asked about comic books. I want to mention this because these dudes were really kind to me. There's a comic book on Image under the banner of Skybound, who do Walking Dead, Manifest Destiny, a bunch of great Invincible, and they have a book called Excellence. And they're just putting out a hardcover of the first 10 issues, and I wrote the foreword. They asked me to write the foreword for it.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
So please check that out. It's an amazing book. It was funny because I say it in the foreword, but it's like Harry Potter meets Spook Who Sat Behind a Door. and it's like
Okay.
it's amazing. It's an amazing journey. It's still continuing. And yeah, so I go to the comic book store every month, but like having kids, I don't have time to read. So but Milestone just reissued you know what I mean, Static, Hardware, and Icon. So I try to buy, I just go in the store and buy everything Black and
Support.
everything.
Yeah.
And then
That's
on
dope.
top of that, everything I like. Everything Skybound usually. Couple Marvel book, couple DC. You know, I come out with like things, but I like getting my kids to go into the comic book store and having them say, I want to, you know, they don't get toys, they only get books. And they come out with a book. And if they only read it on the way home, hopefully they're not catching on to wrestling, they'll catch on. But yeah, comic books. And I'm back to the young rappers. The first thing I always tell young rappers or any rapper, if you can't read, you can't write. If you don't read, you don't write. If you're not observing words and ways to put words together, not just, you know, from the audio or even listening to books on audio tape, you know what I mean? You got to do that.
But just being inspired and consuming.
Consuming art, like cinema, go to
Yeah.
the museum.
Yeah.
Like when I was 15, I was going to LACMA and just looking at the walls because that inspired, like someone we're all drawing from the same ether. It's a fucking cycle. You know what I mean? So someone drew that out of the same ether you're drawing your raps out of. So it's going to inspire you. Take it in so you can put it out. You know what I mean? And it can't just be one. Rapping about rap is so whack, man.
It's tired.
And even if you're rapping about
It's
rap,
tired.
Freestyle Fellowship rapped about rap, but they were intaking some jazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they did it in new, exciting
Yes,
ways.
man. Like
yeah.
that's, you know, I'll never be ungrateful. You know, like that was a big deal. Freestyle Fellowship, like that was huge for me. Like learning about jazz, and I can't say that made me a jazz aficionado, but let me know that you can draw for something outside of hip hop.
It helps inspire us to keep fucking with the form.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Which is really important. Like that it doesn't always have to be what it is now. You can take steps to like break it and make it something else.
And that's why I like learning, staying stagnant and biting. You know what I mean? I forgot. You know, you probably know. Like it's you imitate, you something else, and then you innovate. Those are the steps. You know what I mean? But a lot of people get stuck on imitation because imitation gets you a lot of adoration and applause. And like you said, when you're doing those pay-to-play shows and your group sounds just like the most popular group in the city or at the time, and you know, it works. But then you got to move on and like master your own style. And then you got to innovate. And so you find your voice. And I think that's forgotten. Right now, like I'm definitely next couple, you know, like I got a song about hockey that I'm dropping that I did with our friend Sean. My 2-year-old was watching hockey. He was like, I was like, what's your favorite sport? Oh, he wasn't watching hockey. I said, what's your favorite sport? He said hockey. I said, where did you learn that word? Then I put on hockey. I was like, is this hockey? Yeah, this is hockey. I was like, all right. So then like, you know, I'm a dad. Like, I'm like, cool. I went on Amazon, ordered a little goal, and these motherfuckers was out in the living room playing hockey. And I was like, man, is there a rap song about hockey? Fuck it. I'm going to make like, I had these beats. I was like, Sean is somebody I know who wouldn't mind if I used his beat to do a corner. Because then also like, I'm listening to like, Cuckoo Kangaroo and Yo Gabba Gabba. So I'm like, I want to just do a simple song about hockey.
Stuff is powerful, man. Yo Gabba Gabba. My son was a Bismarcky fan from as long as he could remember because of Yo Gabba Gabba. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff on those kinds of platforms, man. It may seem simple to people, but I think it's really powerful. You know.
So yeah, I got all kind of stuff I've been sitting on. You know what I mean? I got a X-rated drum and bass album that I'm gonna put out that I've been sitting on for 5 years.
Oh, okay. So you doing a children's hockey song?
Yeah, like I'm not caring anymore, bro. Like y'all gonna get this work this year. It's just boo boo boo, and it's not gonna make sense. But I think I've done enough that you know who I am, and this year I want to expound upon that, and I've had a lot of adventures that I've withheld over the past, maybe 5 years. So it's gonna be some old stuff, some new stuff. I'm on Patreon if you want to check it out. A lot of it is leaked on there, and you know, patreon.com/MURS316. The deluxe album drops February 18th. I don't know when this is dropping. And I guess to bring it full circle, we were talking about like going to a city. I don't know why I was in Chicago or what I was doing. And someone was like, yo, there's like someone, I don't know if we were on the south side or whatever. There's a street block, the south side is a block party. And you know, most people are like, oh, the south side of Chicago? I'm not going. You know what I mean? I was like, we were down by the lake. And I was like, yep, this is where we're going. And I'm just walking around, and then someone's like, "Oh, Open Mike Eagles performing."
That was so tight
for sure. And like, I don't think I knew you were from Chicago, because I know you from the Blow.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's this nigga doing out here?" I was like, and I took my wife up there, and it was amazing. And you know, then we got like people are stepping in the street, and there's a vegan Jamaican restaurant. Like,
Hyde Park is like the, it's like the Lamert Park analog of Chicago. You know what
Ah,
I'm saying? So it's very similar
bro,
vibes.
yeah, I bought a book. There's a book, a record store, the Baskin Robbins where Michelle and Barack had their first. Bro, I was like, but this is the stuff you do when you don't just stay in a hotel. Like, you know
Mm,
what I mean? I love that was a beautiful, but I would have never had that moment with you. As a rapper, I think you can share it sucks to see someone suck.
it does, and I've seen a lot of people suck. Like, and I don't even mean the output. I just mean as humans. I've seen a lot of trash humans in this. That's why I wanted to make sure, that I highlighted the fact that I've often seen you do things you don't have to do, in under the auspices of human respect. So, just want to shout that out forever.
Thank you, man. And Stony Island and all your movements, the podcast LP. I'm about to listen to this Dante Ross joint. Like,
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for watching that. And if you dug that, leave a thumbs up and say what up in the comments. And make sure to subscribe to Stony Island Audio for more.